Alright, hello and welcome. That's right, no intro today. You might be asking why. That's a good question. Upon starting production of this video, I opened up my Google Drive and my intro was just gone, so I don't know. It'll be alright, I suppose. It was pretty old, and I was planning on making a new one anyway, so oh well. I want to start making videos again, and this is an early attempt at that. I've also got an animation on the way. It's going to be a lot longer than most of the animations I've done in the past. So that's exciting. Last thing I want to say before I actually start talking about what I'm drawing is that my room is currently about 6 degrees off from being legally classified as an industrial plasma furnace, which might exist. And if it does, I'm sure it's very hot, so if you hear like a fan in the background, or 3, I apologize, but not really. Anyway, okay, so like the art. I'm drawing Batman here, or like a filthy cheap imitation. I don't know what it is, but I can't not draw this type of garbage, so here we are. I'll try to explain my process a bit as we go, and I'll speed up particularly boring sections, probably a bunch of it, and we'll see how it goes. Alright, so here you can see I'm adhering to the first rule of art, which is to pick up a pencil and sketch a bunch. So I'm starting to delineate some of the outer lines, a bit of the musculature. Yeah, I'm making a Batman. I should reiterate as well, this isn't a tutorial, this is just me explaining my process, so take what I say with a grain of salt. The style I'm drawing in here clearly doesn't have a big emphasis on anatomically correct positioning or muscles or any of that. It's a lot more focused on just getting the gist of a character. You can almost call this a caricature, but more goofy and kind of a, I don't know, you can almost call it a doodle. Alright, I'm out of things to say, so I'm gonna like speed up the video, and then I'll pause if there's something interesting or whatever. Yeah, here we go. Alright, now that we're done with all that boring garbage, I can select a brush tool of some sort that I like for inking, and I'm going to create some thick black outlines. I feel like I probably should point out that most of the time when I draw, I would do a lot more sketching, and I'd make sure I knew where everything was going to go before I started inking. However, this kind of style is a lot looser. You can just kind of go for it and see what happens, and a big part of this is embracing your mistakes. If in this case you can even call them that, because a lot of the time I draw a line and it's off a bit from what I wanted, and then I start to think, oh, how could I use that and make it into something that just looks weird. Anyway, I hope that makes sense. I will say this style is perfect for warming up and getting some early practice in before working on, say, a larger project or something like that. Okay, at this point I've gotten his chest mostly drawn. I'm working on the head. I think I make a few changes to it. Yeah. Maybe now's a good time to mention that I recently made a Fiverr account so I can do really cheap commissions for whatever you guys want. So if you want to check that out, I'll have a link in the description. I don't know, I've been enjoying doing commission work recently, so I'm increasing how many I'm doing. Okay, I'm thinking now might be another good time to speed up the process just a bit. We'll see how far we get through the inking. If I see anything that I want to point out, I'll stop it. But yeah, here we go. Okay, so maybe here's a good time to point out how important I think learning to draw from real reference images is. Now, obviously, our thick boy here isn't exactly anatomically correct. However, I think that like with a lot of things, drawing is it's very important to start from a place of realism. And this kind of goes into the whole you have to know the rules to break them type idea. Or you know what, you can do whatever. Screw it. Who cares? Drawing's all about like freedom or whatever, so get out of here with that fascist nonsense, I guess. Anyway, you can see me, I'm drawing some fingers here, making them nice and blocky. Don't want too much detail in there. Kind of keeping everything somewhat uniformly vague. I'm also not giving any importance to making sure that it's symmetrical as a drawing at all. I think his left hand is way bigger than the right one, and that's alright because in this style it's really all about exaggerating different poses and stuff. I just saw it zoom out there. Yeah, and it's weird. It looks real weird, but I don't know why I like the result, but I do. And I don't mean this drawing in particular, but this style, I should say. Alright, so this video is like 6 minutes long. I'm gonna call that like the halfway point. We made it. I don't know what to say again though, so I'm probably gonna switch back into speeding it up. Yeah, see you back in a bit. Alright, I think we're done with the line art. As you can see, I added a little bat to fill out some of that empty space. Now what I'm going to do is basically fill everything I have with a solid gray color. The reason I do this is to create a clipping mask, which will make shading and painting the actual textures and the actual shadows and stuff a lot easier. Yeah, so I grab a big brush and I'm just going to fill in everything without worrying about going over the lines. It's not a big deal. You can fill it completely and be really careful to stay in the lines, and that'll work. I just find it's a little easier to fill everything and then go back with an eraser and kind of go over the lines again. It's essentially like tracing your own line art, and it's I think it's easy. I know it's terribly disappointing that you're not going to hear my voice for a few more seconds here, but this part's pretty boring, so I'm going to fast forward through most of it, and we'll come back once I've finished the outlines. Alright, and there we go. So I've erased everything around the outsides. Now I'm just going to take that and I'm going to take a blank layer up here. I think I hold Control and Shift and then click between the two layers. Anyway, that creates a clipping mask so that I can't draw on anything outside of that gray shape. I know I said this wasn't going to be a tutorial, but I can't think of what else to talk about, so there we go. Well, either way, this is where I like to usually grab an oil brush of some kind, basically something that'll blend easily. Or sometimes I'll even start by grabbing a harder brush, throw in some blocky areas of dark and light color, and then go back with an oil brush and kind of blend it out. And I don't remember entirely what I do. I think I do basically both. I start with the oil brush, I start putting out some lines, and then I think I switch back to a solid brush, but I guess we'll have to watch and find out. And just like the line art, I'm pretty loose and quick with throwing in some colors, just blocking out shapes and stuff. However, I do think it's important to have a decent understanding of how light works, I mean, at least in some way. But when you're working this quickly and this loose, you can kind of get away with a lot, just putting shadows and highlights where you think they look good. Okay, I think it's almost time we throw it back into time-lapse. This part, yeah, this is where I switch back to the blending brush, I believe. Yeah, I think I pretty much just start over from what I had. So you'll get to see basically the whole painting process in time-lapse. That's fun. Let me know what you guys want me to do to change things up, though, if you think I should talk more or a lot less. Whatever you think. Feel free to leave a comment. And also, I'd ask you guys, like, if you have drawing requests, throw them in the comments as well. I'll probably get to some of them at least in a future video. Anyway, here we go. Back to time-lapse. pretty much at the end here. Last thing I have to do, I think, is I sign it. Yeah. If you have enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like or not, whatever, subscribe if you like things like this. If you didn't like it, drop a big fat dislike, and post something really awful and mean about my personality or something. Similarly to me not having an intro, I also don't have an outro today. So this is basically it. Y'all take care, I'll see you next time.